It looks like we were already set up for live streaming, so we already started live streaming. So rather than take us down and bring us back up, we'll just fill in the space. We'll just say hi to people. We'll do our intros.
We'll do a 2-minute long introduction, and then we'll just hop in and start inviting people.
Normally it takes me to a screen and has me set it up and input all of the key and everything, but the key must have been placed. So it just live streamed us. So
okay.
And I can share while we're filling in the space here.
Okay, so then I'll just start slowly introducing.
Yeah, speak slow.
Well, we have a minute now, so I got to speed it up a little bit. And here's my cat. I'm going to show you. Blurry cat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Certified Life Coach Institute's CLCI Lives Lunch and Learn. We are here with our Coaching 102 Master, or soon-to-be Master Certified Life Coaches, on their last day of class. And we are sitting down with them during their lunch hour to talk about business, marketing, coaching questions, anything. We'll answer any question you guys throw at us. And as well, if you're keeping your cameras off as well, we will still monitor the chat and answer any questions you type. As well, myself and Brooke, while we have expertise in the subject matter, we are by no means our final arbiters of knowledge. If you guys interacting with us have your own answers to someone else's questions, feel free to jump in as well. We love to collaborate. To give you guys a quick introduction, my name is Anthony. I am the project director with Certified Life Coach Institute. I do marketing with Brooke as well. I write blogs, I copy edit, I write. We've owned a marketing company as well, where we built businesses from the ground up, built websites from the ground up. So I think we know our stuff. Brooke, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Anthony has already somewhat introduced me. I am the Chief Strategy Officer here. I am also someone who has been doing marketing and marketing for coaches for a very long time, and also marketing for CLCI. I have also done everything from, you can imagine, almost everything you can imagine in the marketing realm, quite a bit. And I also have a lot of expertise, I think we both do, in SEO, Google ads, running things like that. But also just the whole sort of realm of that, as well as business. My background is in entertainment. I've also been a small business owner myself, and also a coach, and am now the Chief Strategy Officer. So hello, and it's nice to meet everybody. Great to see faces. We love to see faces. So hi. And I think Anthony said the rest. I will, Anthony, if you could head up the first question, I've got to do 2 more shares.
Yes, and for those of you watching, be sure to share, like, subscribe, comment, and all that other good stuff. So we can get started with questions. I know we've got a few faces that have showed up. So one of you would like to start us off with a question? I'm going to start calling on
raise your hand. You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Either way, or we'll just call on you if we see your face.
If I see your face, that means I'm going to.
That is free reign for
Dale.
Calling.
Smart. Okay, Matt, Elenit, Michael, you guys have any questions for us regarding marketing?
I have a quick question. I hid my self view and now I can't find myself anymore.
Oh, top right corner, it says view. Should be the top right corner of your screen, and you can change that and unhide it. Did you fix it? You're muted now, though. That's all you needed. Fantastic.
Well, there we are. We sometimes just solve technical issues on Zoom.
It does as well. Yes, you.
Michael, I saw that you had your hand briefly raised.
Yeah, buddy. All right, to kick things off, with us being new coaches, mostly, and starting that journey. So we're in that headspace. What are some number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that we're not asking ourselves in the way to move us forward? Maybe at this stage, it could be marketing. So maybe just bigger existential things along that part. Things that-
Existential. I've got a couple that popped into mind first and foremost.
Sweet.
And they are things that in my experience, coaches are scared to do or don't think to do. One of them is to really niche yourself down, to really, really, really find that one client, to really find, and when we say that it's scary to do it, you think, oh my gosh, I'm leaving all of these other people out. But if you're generic and you're not talking to anybody, right? So really niching yourself down, finding that niche, figuring out what it is. And in the same vein, the secondary question, I mean, when in the people I've worked with, we're literally narrowing it down to a single being. And I will say, this feels uncomfortable. I know it feels uncomfortable for you, but just go with me on this, because every answer you need on the planet comes from niching down to that one person. Because once you have that one person, you know where they are, how to reach them, what they need to hear, what they're doing through their day, where to market to them, what they're going to listen to, who they're going to listen to. And all of your questions that you have become very clear. And it becomes very, very, and the more, and we'll really dive into like an intimate exploration of who your ideal client is. Not to say that, and I always say, you think it's one person, but it will open itself up. You're speaking to a single human being, but you're casting a wider net than you imagine. And then the secondary sort of thing to that is a lot of coaches don't ask themselves, what more markets do I already have? So where are there people who already trust me that I can already start to talk to about what I do? And two things can happen from that. You can not only even find clients, but you can also build a network of folks who are willing to talk about you, right? And willing to maybe refer you to people. And I know I exponentially trust a referral. I just had somebody refer me to a dentist because I was looking for a different local dentist. And it's coming from somebody I trust. And okay, yeah, that's hand over fist better than any review I read on the internet.
How are their teeth, Brooke?
Personally, great.
Okay.
And the dentist is supposed to be fantastic and nice and all these things. So I was like, okay, I trust this so much more than anything I'm going to find on the internet. So it's a very similar kind of situation for a coach is who can you be talking to about what you do that will help you find clients? Who also can you be working with? Whether that be therapists, whether that be where you're co-marketing, and all of this is coming from too. If you're going into that exploration of co-marketing, are you co-marketing with somebody that is your client? With somebody that is talking to your client, and that helps you sort of cast these wider nets when people are afraid. So those are big ones for me. Anthony, did you have anything come into mind?
I was going to ask sort of the more existential question, but you kind of covered it in your first question. Is what the hell is a life coach? What am I as a life coach? And when you tend to figure out that answer, you find out that life coach is not a sufficient description for what you guys do and what you guys are when it comes to your niche. Because life coach, it's a very general term. It, shows up well on Google. It's a key word. It doesn't really describe what you do though and who you serve. So you're not just a life coach. You are a coach to single moms who have difficulty raising their kids. You're a professional coach who helps businesses in dentistry. Me and Brooke worked with somebody. We worked with somebody years ago who was a dental business coach who only worked with dentists because she herself was a dentist and owned her own, practices. You are, an executive coach. You're a spiritual coach who helps people on their whatever religious path they're on. You're not just a life coach, and that's not really how you should advertise yourself necessarily to attract, clients. Clients want very specific solutions to their specific problems or goals. So asking yourself, what am I other than a life coach, is the big existential question. And if you can find the answer to that, you'll be able to find the audience more. Mm-hmm.
In a more practical space too, a lot of coaches I just had a session with somebody about this. So a lot of coaches, when they price themselves, they'll sit down and they will price the hour based, not on a lot of things, because they've not been a contractor before. They've not been a business owner before. So remember, when you're pricing yourself for a single hour of coaching or 3 hours of coaching in a day, you're pricing yourself for the full 8-hour day. So if you're only coaching in 3 hours, if you're only coaching 3 hours a day, those 3 hours a day have to cover what it would be for you to work 8 hours a day, because you are paying guarantee you, if you're opening your business and running this on your own, you will have marketing expenses. You're going to have time, energy that's going to go into putting things together, running the business, contacting people, setting up all of the things you need to do to coach. And that time needs to be paid for. You also will have more different tax expenses. Everything's going to sort of change for you when you do this. So keep in mind that when you price yourself, you're pricing yourself for a larger picture than just an hour of your time. And I think a lot of coaches forget to do that. So it's a two-part question when somebody asks, well, how should I price myself? Or a two-part answer. The two parts are, what do you need to make to survive? I can coach X amount of hours a week, which is X amount of clients, and I'm working X amount of hours, so I need to charge this amount to be what I'm happy with, whichever that is. And it's gonna be different for each person, right? And then the secondary question is, will my client pay that? Is my client somebody who's going to pay my rate? And if you find yourself in a situation where, well, my clients can't afford my rate or won't afford my rate or something like that, we might sort of start to talk about where spaces we can flex into that will allow you more freedom. And those spaces can be a lot of different things. And I'm not saying that every client has to be rich, right? There are ways that there are programs, there are lots of things that we can do as coaches to coach our ideal client and then make up costs other ways as well. We can get creative. Group coaching, there's creative solutions. So absolutely.
Hope that was a expansive answer to your question.
We gave you a lot of answers.
All right. Anybody else have a question they would like to ask? Even in the chat as well, if you've got a question you're hiding without your camera on, we will answer your questions.
And if you don't have questions, I'm just going to start prodding you guys. I'm going to start asking you about who your niche client is and where you are in your exploration, or where you are in this process. And all
Andrea,
that.
we got our hand up.
Hey, is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's Andrea.
Or Andrea? What?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Andrea.
Thank you. So I have more of a tactical question around, well, somewhat strategy, somewhat tactical, is what do you go through to create a good brand name for yourself, and then associated website, and how technical does it need to be, all that stuff. So how do you do the basics there?
Naming is fun. I enjoy naming. So there's a couple things that you want to go into. I was just working with Jen, and her brand name is her business name is Genuinely Concerned, which is totally cute. And she said, should I include coaching in that? And I was like, yes, you should include coaching in that. And I love that name. It's fantastic. She broke a couple of rules, I would say, but I'm okay with her breaking the rules because of her name. So when you're sitting down to name yourself, I have some tried and true rules that I tend to put forward. You can break them, of course, everybody, but listen to the reasons why, at least. And this is also in your level 1 book. So don't play with spelling would be one. Don't get creative with spelling. Don't get crazy with spelling. Don't spell coaching with a K. Don't, you know what I mean? The reason for this being is because most of the time people will hear your name or they will remember it and they're going to go to the way they think it's spelled, right? So
right.
So if they're trying to find you and now there's some weird spelling and then somebody else is going to take the correct spelling, it's going to get kind of messy, right? So really, if you can, stay true to the spelling. Keep it simple. Don't make it hard to say. Our website name is atrocious. It's so long. Certified Life Coach Institute. Spelling Institute. INSTITUTE for people. And you know how easy it is to leave an I out? It can be madness. So really in an ideal world, we would have a shorter URL. And we've explored doing that many times in many ways. So keep that in mind. Keep it simple for your client. A few hacks for SEO. It's always even better if you have some kind of keyword in your business name. So if it says coach in your URL, says coach in your business name, says coach in, you're automatically going to be liked a little better. Not so much it's going to break the bank if you don't, but it gives you a little boost, right? And it also tells people what it is you're doing. Not an end all be all. You can also just have it be your name. That's possible too. But again, if you have a weird and difficult to spell name, I would say let's come up with something a little more creative if we can, and that speaks to what it is you're doing.
As
Really,
well.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I kind of want to go over because naming, this comes up in my writing more so than anywhere else, but coming up with like a title or a name can be maddening sometimes because there's so many options available. So I'm gonna post a tool that is sort of a cheat, but it's a good way to get the juices flowing. And I love using AI tools. Brooke knows that
you're
I'm
gonna do AI. You're gonna post
AI madness, but this is a website called Namelix, and it uses an AI to sort of generate a lot of different types of names for your business. It's not going to give you the one perfect name, but it'll give you a list and a way to figure out. I need to get the cat out of the way. Stupid cat.
We both have apparently our cats are needy today.
Blocking my view, but essentially, you generate a business name using keywords. You can select the styles of the names that you want. So it can be real words, short phrases, compound words, brand name. You can control the randomness. So either you get really crazy out there ideas or very narrow, direct, kind of easy to understand names. And finally, you type in all your keywords you want to use. So if you have a very specific niche, include those keywords. And then a short 1-sentence description of your business name or product. And it'll generate all these different types of brand names that you could possibly use.
I would also say don't get lost in it either.
Yeah.
Don't like get lost in the weeds there, because it's really easy to get lost, like to just sort of go I'll tell you, when I opened my design business, my first design business, I spent way too long trying to figure out the perfect name, trying to figure out the perfect website. And it was it reached the point of ridiculous. Like it really, like I was just overthinking everything. Don't just try your best not to get too lost in the weeds, and also run it by a couple other people too. Use in anybody. And hopefully people that aren't yes people, hopefully people that will kind of give you an honest opinion back. Even post it in the alumni chat. Post it in the alumni chat and write it out a few times. Try spelling it out loud, because this is something you're going to have to use and say, and it's going to be on everything, right? If you're on a podcast, you're going to say your website out loud. And people are going to have to find you without reading it in many ways. So like there are times when, in situations where we're going to have to just sort of say, you can find my website here, or you can find my business here. And just, that's why I say it out loud to people a few times before you sell yourself, before you go, this is it. And even spell it out loud.
Institute, right?
Yes. Certified CERTIFIED Life Coach Institute. It is so long.
Definitely.
So what we did to save ourselves some trouble is we've got 2 URLs. So when we are giving our website or our emails, we have CLCI Coach and CLCI Team, and that makes it much easier for us. So now we can go CLCI, which or Charlie Lima, Charlie Indigo.
I just have a keybind that I push a button and then it writes out Certified Life Coach Institute. I have my own.
But and if you're on the phone too, it just bear that in mind when naming yourself. But don't get too lost in it. It's okay. Right. You can think about the weird, crazy names out there too. I mean, there's all over the board. But you'll notice big businesses, they're very short. They have short and simple names. Apple.com. Amazon.com. I mean, these are people who are selling things, but
also using that tool that I just listed, I made like a fake bodybuilder athlete life coaching like name, and it came up with Life Lifter, which I think is like
fun.
That's I think that's an awesome name.
That's fantastic.
It's food, short, simple. So use the tools that are out there.
Great.
You don't have to sit down and be the most creative person in the world. You can use tools to sort of help you. And then I also checked afterwards, okay, is Life Lifter like an actual business name for some other business or for some other coaching thing?
So
There's
that's
no
the
other,
other thing.
Yeah.
That's a big important point there too. When naming yourself, do a search and see if there is another really big thriving business that has that name or has something just a tiny bit off. Only because what can happen is if we create a life coaching business and name it Avatar, what do you think is going to come up when people search our name, right?
Avatar:
So
The Last Airbender.
bear that in mind. I just pulled one of the biggest films I could think of right now out of my head. So bear that in mind when you are naming your business. If I am naming, I mean, now if it's Avatar Coaching, not so bad, not as bad, right? We've got the word coaching in there. It separates us, gets us out of the weeds a bit there, but or out of the minutia. But just keep that in mind. Do a little search, see if you're going to be in competition with anybody else before you marry yourself. So again, don't get
helpful.
married to it. Yeah, don't get married to it till you've done a little research, and then talk to a few people and be flexible with being willing to change and flex a little bit. Yeah.
I'm going to move on, Brooke, to some questions we've had in the chat for a little bit. Christy Emery, how can we niche ourselves and yet be more broad in our definition of what we do? It's kind of a difficult question to ask because it's similar to asking, how can I be both specific and broad in my definition? And specific and broad seem kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum there. So, I mean, without further context, I'll just sort of say that there could be two ways you go about there. There might be more, but these are ways I've sort of encountered coaching other people who have kind of the same questions. One is niching yourself down with one client, or I guess not one client, sorry, I mixed it up. Niching yourself with a method. So the client I worked with years ago, she was trying to develop a specific coaching method that is like a 12-step, 5-step, 6-step program. I can't remember, that has very clear logical steps and that could apply to a lot of different people. And what she was selling was essentially this 6-step program of coaching that was branded and marketed in such a way that this is the answer for a lot of different markets.
My brain still goes, who is she helping? Like my red alarms or my alarms are going off. Like, cause I'm like, okay, 6-step program, but why do I care if it's not going to help me specifically? Anyways, carry on.
So, but essentially what she was trying to do is niche down the process of coaching rather than her audience. And it's, I mean, Brooke, it is kind of similar to what we do at Certified Life Coach Institute. We're not doing spiritual coaching certifications, or we're doing business.
Well, it is broader, but the difference being we are selling it. Okay, so this is where things vary, right? So this is why, and I'll explain, this is why it can be difficult for coaches, right? Because if I'm a human being and I know I want to be a coach, I will sit down and I'm now problem aware. My problem, I want to be a coach. I want training to become a coach, right? We're already specific. We're already getting specific. So I'm going to sit down and do the research for solutions. Now I will become solution aware. So now I'm a person that has searched. I've looked at schools. There are schools that do it in 6 months. There are schools that do it in 3 days. There are schools that do it in 8 weeks. And certain ones cost X, Y, and Z, looking at reviews, but I've now become solution aware. But so I'm looking at what my options are and my solutions are. And then I'm going to go from there and I'm going to decide what suits me best as a human being. So what suits my needs best. And a lot of those who choose our school are people who don't have time. They have already training experience and they want to take the wheels off. They learn that it's ICF accredited. So it's all this, and there's a lot of reasons that go into it. Ultimately though, yes, we do sell a bit of our process, but we are selling a very particular solution for a very particular human being. We're selling a life coach certification for somebody who wants to become a life coach. Me as a life coach, what am I selling? What is my problem? What is my client's problem? Well, when my client is sitting down, if I have a client that is, let's say I have a woman whose children have just moved out of the house. She's got empty nest syndrome going on. And so I'm getting specific. And she is now searching for what do I do with this new chapter in my life? Right. So her problem is she feels unfulfilled. She's got all these things. And so me as a life coach, I'm going to slide in there and be like, I can help you plan out your next chapter. I can help you figure out how to, and I start to sell her solutions, but to her specific problem. And that's where why I get worried, Anthony, is because it's less tangible for our clients unless we get specific. And that's why I worry. I'm like, my red alarms go off with her, because we have a very specific product, ultimately for a very specific person. It might span a great deal of different kinds of human beings, but ultimately we know what their problem is and what the solution is and what we're off. And I don't hear that from her.
The example though I'm giving with CLCI is how our method of delivering, ICF accredited coaching is kind of why we are successful as a business. We do the 60 hours of training that ICF requires for, ICF, but as opposed to other businesses who do it in larger amounts of time for larger amounts of money,
yes,
we understand the 60 hours can be done in 6 days of class, which
that's
all of us are doing. So what I'm sort of getting at here is that the method of our method is a big selling point that generalizes a lot of different coaches who kind of want the same thing, a specific product.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the coach who wants to niche themselves and be more broad and specific at the same time to answer that question, you can go for a broader audience, but you have to be specific in some regards. You can't just be broad and that's it to try to appeal to everyone, because there's not really anything that's going to be attracting them to you.
And honestly, people aren't Googling. I mean, yes, some people will Google, I'm looking for a life coach, but then what are they going to, it's going to take them down. They're going to look for people who are going to be able to serve their needs specifically. And so if you're somebody who's speaking to, so one step further, if you figure out a way to deliver your product to a specific person, like to a specific or even specific small group of people in such a way that makes it irresistible or so convenient to them that they can't say no, you have a product that's going to sell. Because now not only are you solving my problem, you're solving it in a way that is convenient to me, that makes my life easier, not harder. And now I'm sold. It's irresistible to me, right? I'm like, I am in 100%. Thank you. When I bought my car, I knew I wanted a Nissan, but then when I found out they would deliver it to my door and I could test drive it, and I didn't have to ever walk onto a sales lot, that was like that over the moon. I was like, okay, let's do this. Thank you. You have just served my needs. I don't have to go. Like, that's like my worst nightmare, going to a car sales lot. Like, and I can call you, tell you what I want, and you're going to get it here and deliver it to me. I can test drive it, decide then and there, and I don't have to go deal with all of that. That made it irresistible for me. So you can take the same application and apply it to life coaching. How can you make your product irresistible to a single human being? And again, it's always, but to answer that question, again, you always have to get specific to some degree. You really do. I hope that makes sense.
Allie, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I think that Michael asked a question though in the chat before me. I didn't know if you wanted to, but
yeah, I that was going to require a longer conversation.
Okay,
I have an answer for that, but I can answer it really quickly on how I go about doing that. Michael asked, before going down this life coaching path, I had a preconceived notions that were wildly misplaced. Now that I've gone down the path of understanding life coaching as CLCI teaches it. What comes up for you now, comes up for you on how you explain life coaching to people who come to you with wildly misplaced judgments on what life coaching is. So in a specific scenario where I've had to explain this to people who didn't know what it is, I would ask them, what do you think life coaching is? And I would listen to their answers. I would ask questions, and I'm essentially using coaching skills at some points, but I'm trying to get out of them, what do they think life coaching is? How did you come to that conclusion? Once they give me an answer, I'll retort, okay, well, this is how I was trained to do life coaching. This is sort of my credentials with ICF, and this is how I deliver it. And then I sort of explain the differences there. Usually that satisfies a lot of people in specific scenarios.
And you're going to get a range of different things that people think life coaching is, a whole range, depending on who you're speaking to, you know, from the person that thinks you're going to solve all their problems to the person that thinks you are a total crazy person, or, you know, completely
Grifter, or you're
a
participating
grifter, or,
in,
you know, any number of
LLM
things can come
scheme.
up. And what I would say is, what I always tell people when they ask is it is essentially we coach forward, right? Where coaching is, for me, is a very specific thing. There's a lot of people out there that call themselves coaches that may not be doing what we do, which is a very specific thing. It's ICF accredited coaching. It's coaching in a very specific manner. And if they want to know more, I'll explain more. Absolutely. A lot of people do think that you're just going to solve problems, and that's you know, not the case. Even with clients, when you're gonna have clients that will walk into your first session and think that you're gonna tell them the answers and ask you to tell them the answers. I have encountered this so many times, to the point that when I'm life coaching, I prefer not to take marketing and business clients, because then they really, not only do I get more pressure to give them answers, the secondary piece of that is it's easier for me to slip into that role, that advising role. And so I try to avoid it. I try to, you know, for my own success as a coach other things when I'm coaching, and not coach business marketing, even though there's a great deal of expertise there. But that can be bad. Having all that expertise can actually be bad for me, because I will slip into advising much more easy. So having that conversation with them, what is coaching and what isn't coaching with your clients, is very important, and having it early on. And it's actually in your contract. If you're using the ICF client coach agreement, it's in there. And I think it's important to go over that with them, because knowing them, having that foundation of what coaching is and what coaching isn't, will help in your success working with one another. And if ever you have a situation where you need to refer a client out, it will also have something to go back to and say, hey, you know, this is what coaching is. This is out of my realm. I'm going to refer you to somebody that can better help you. And that will happen, and has happened to many coaches that I know. So having that upfront conversation with them early on, so that they know that everybody's on the same page, I think is really, really a smart thing to do for your client. And in fact, ICF, it's in the core competency. So ICF asks that you, so.
And so I'll also, you know, in my conversations, I've said, like, you know, life coaching, there are people who say that they're life coaches and have no educational experience whatsoever. Like, I understand that those people are out there. Here's my education. Here's where I come from with an ICF background as to what coaching is. The other person can choose to either make the distinction or not make any distinction whatsoever. But if they don't sort of come to that understanding on their own, you know, it's not a hill to die on. You just kind of let them, you know, remain in their ignorance in the nicest way possible. But yeah, Allie, so back to your question.
And sorry, I'm just like chilling on my break here. Number one, these names that the AI has come up for me are kind of amazing. In an ironic way, I probably need to put more information, because so far Alitron is like the number one. Number two, when we kind of like did the narrowing down of our niche, or not niche, but maybe like our ideal client in 101. I came to like really annoying realization that my client's going to be on TikTok. So can y'all like talk to me about that, or like any insight you have for coaches on, because I've seen a few different things. And I think what's daunting to me is like the consistency that TikTok would require to be effective, or I might be off base on that. But yeah, kind of just TikTok, go.
Yeah. My first observations of TikTok coaches, and I did this a while ago. I've since deleted my TikTok because it's just takes up too much of my time. I have to do it for my own sanity. But when I was doing the research, it's so amazing how low of a bar it is for TikTok coaches to get so many viewers and so many likes on a video and shares. Like there was one guy, Brooke, we were looking at, who just didn't say anything. He did this and this. It was like 10 tips to
Yeah.
such and such a
He's
amazing,
developing content. At the end of the day, he's developing. He has to come up with the writing that happens
Yeah.
there.
but it's such a simple video that was 10 seconds long. And it's amazing how low of a bar of entry it is to like get into TikTok. On the other hand, though, it's not without its disadvantages because it's ultimately free content.
So
And-
yeah, that's really what I wanted to dive into. So we had students that came in and had, 300, 400 million person TikTok accounts. And they thought, I'm going to become a life coach. It's going to be easy. I got this huge following. All I have to do is start posting and asking people. And they would hit walls. And I was like, well, you have 1 million people that have never had to pay for anything from you. You've never even asked to have them pay for anything. That's not probably why they are watching you. They're expecting your content to be free. So how do you now take that million person, and turn who are expecting free content and ask them to start paying for you? They might be people that are never going to reach into your pocket and pay for you. And this is where that element becomes very important. We can build out entire audiences, huge audiences. You can buy audiences, but what's the point if they aren't people who are ever going to pay you money, right? Not very big one. I would rather have an audience of 3,000 people that were going to interact with me and pay me than 300,000. So really that's when it becomes important to start to create an offering when you're on TikTok. So you can build your following, but I would also have an offering. I would also make sure that you're creating that sort of funnel. This is the next step. This is where you find me. There's a link there on your profile that they can click on that will take them to something. If you're running a paid ad, you run a paid ad to an offering that's even a small amount of money, $25, $30, something like that, that gives them something of value so that whatever that is, whoever that person is. So if it's your niche, if your niche client is a burned out businesswoman that wants to start her own business, but she's working for someone else, she's miserable in her job, she's working for someone else, she has dreams of her own, she doesn't know how to leave her company. Create something for that woman so create the 10 steps to get out or something, you know what I mean? Or here's your business plan. This is your business plan. This is the first step. This is where you go. And I also have resources for, all of these things to make your life easier, to make this transition easier. You can be supported in this transition from this place to this place. Here is the first step, and it's only $25. And then from there, you've got her, right? She's willing to pay you 25. She's going to be willing to pay you, right? She'll be willing to pay you for a session. So that really becomes, you have to start to think of it, not just as growing a following, but growing a following of people that not only want to see your content, but are willing to pay you. And you'd be surprised. People buy off of TikTok, they buy off of Instagram, they go to those places, they will. And if you make the right offering, they absolutely will. But you got to make sure that whatever you're offering is of value. Because if they spend that money and they get there and they're like, it wasn't worth it, then they're probably not going to do it again. So just make sure you're creating something that will really work for them and help them.
As well, to add on to like a more technical aspect, how are you going to even know any of this is going to work at all? You have to set up a way to track this information and to see where the conversion is. Are people actually going to your website or whatever, clicking on links? So they're on the very outer edge of the funnel. They're either problem aware or maybe aware that life coaching is a solution, but how are they going to know that you offer a solution and you are the life coach for them? I see this a lot of time on different TikToks is a link tree in their bio, and it's like it's their business account. And from the link tree, it goes to their other social media or their website. And from the website, usually websites will have this sort of tracking, but you can also use Google Analytics. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brooke, but then you can see what is the outside source of traffic? And if you're seeing that you have millions of people looking at your videos every day, but you only get 10 people going from TikTok to your website, then you know there might be something that you need to adjust to get those numbers up. And then you start to do A/B testing, you start to try different methods of videos and call to actions, and you're trying to test and see what works
What
and what
resonates.
is pumping up the numbers of people going down the funnel to your website,
And,
then from your website to buying things and ultimately getting coaching sessions.
and that can get really overwhelming really quick. Like I'm overwhelmed just hearing that. Oh my God, right? That's holy crap. Wow, that's a lot. I'm overwhelmed. So how can we simplify this? If you take a small amount of money and you run an ad in TikTok, and you can do that. You'll have to have a business account. You can run an ad. What TikTok will do is build an audience for you. They're going to build you an audience around, you're going to first set it up. I want this kind of person, this age, blah, 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 blah. But they'll start to create an audience around who is clicking that button. And that will be automatically saved for you. And they make it easy. They want to make it easy for you guys. So you don't have to take it that far. Boom, 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 boom. Eventually you want to get there if you can, or hire somebody that will, right? But to start out, the great thing about Instagram and Facebook ads and TikTok ads is they are so much less expensive than running Google ads, and they have analytics and everything already sort of there for you in-house. So, and they will create audiences around that. And some coaches will use that as their primary marketing and run with it. And it's a fantastic way to do that. You have to know that's where your client is, then that's what you've got to focus on. Don't focus on all the rest of it. Focus on that TikTok and getting those TikTok people to convert. And I would not worry about anywhere else. Take it one place at a time. If that makes sense. And then once you've mastered TikTok, if you say, hey, I think that there's people over here, then, and TikTok's got the wheels off, it's running, then start to stress about other places. You don't have to be everywhere at the same time. You really don't. So.
Allie, did we answer your question thoroughly?
Yes.
And scary.
But I think I came to the conclusion that I probably will start on Instagram because I'm at least more familiar with it.
Uh-huh.
I'm using TikTok in another business of mine, and so I was like, crap, I might need to. And I mean, yeah, I might need to eventually. It's just I don't know why.
You can blow up followings in TikTok quickly because it's not like Instagram where like people are so particular about, I can only have X amount of my followers can't be more than my, like that doesn't happen in TikTok. Nobody cares. In TikTok, it's like follow, follow, like follow, follow, like nobody cares. So that's really a great thing about being able to blow up TikTok, and you can do that very quickly. So like that, and I don't see that algorithm. I don't see that process changing anytime soon. So, and how do you do that? Utilize sounds, utilize the filters, utilize all of those tools that they give you. If you can add cats to your video, just kidding. Only if you're
they will add themselves to my video.
They will, right? Only if you're targeting cat ladies.
Yeah, that's amazing. They're not right here. All right, thank y'all very much.
Thank you guys. We have a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah. Christy asked, when I was a massage therapist, I would advertise in phone book, yes, I'm that old, mailers, or at events. By Groupon and later by word of mouth, and that works great. But many of those things are obsolete or don't even exist anymore. So what is the new best marketing thing? To answer the direct question, what is the best new marketing thing? It is, I mean, it's not entirely new, but what we've been talking about is social media. But there are caveats to that answer because obviously there are still people who are an audience who still use Groupons, who still go to events, probably still use a phone book. I've never seen a phone book for the last 10 years of my life, but I'm sure they still exist. Go on,
Groupon has a notorious reputation for people who are like not willing to spend money. Like most businesses hate Groupon, just be warned. Like I don't know if it's true across the board, but just to give you a little, at least in my experience, that's what I have experienced. And they're not like the nicest platform to use as far as I know. Like I've not had good experience.
So if we want to talk about the most bleeding edge of newest thing, and this is something that I'm not going to recommend you just dive into it, but just keep your eye open for changes, is that Microsoft has acquired OpenAI, Chat GPT. It's this AI cool chat service thing. Brooke, you know, I'm obsessed with it. But they're integrating it with Bing now.
Yeah.
And people are guessing and projecting that Bing is going to be overthrowing Google within the next few years. So there might be this huge shift from
see.
Google to Bing. That's bleeding edge, crazy new stuff that
Because right now, Google has 96% of the searchable
Yeah.
market share, and Bing has about 2.
so this
and
is all
Google is notorious for being able to sort of smash competition because of the way that they form their business. They
Yeah.
modularize their business so that they can ramp up things quickly. So we'll see. We'll see.
so like I said, it's something to just
see, chat
keep an
part.
eye on, but it could be a big shift from Google to Bing, and then you might end up thinking, okay, I want to run ads on Bing rather than Google. That's all stuff that could
Well,
quote happen.
to be
That's
fair,
like-
right now, if you're running ads on Google, you can run an ad. They're linked. Like they have Bing is wise enough to know now that Google is such a large part that if you're running Bing ads, you can do as simple as there's an option and you just toggle it and say, use the same successful ads in my Google ads, import my Google ads. It will just do it all automatically for you. Bing had made it silly easy for you to not have to rebuild entire campaigns and everything from Google ads to Bing ads. And that's very smart of them to do that. So makes it easy, but lot of baggage in running those ads before you go there. Don't just go run ads until you've taken.
Yeah. So that's the newest thing. It's not the most relevant thing, but that's the newest thing. Otherwise, it's social media marketing is where it's at pretty much. In terms of
If we're talking about
transitioning
newest,
from- well, in
newest
terms of transitioning from mailing stuff and
Well,
using
okay, so
phone books.
can I have a moment here? I would say the modern version of phone books and mailing is SEO. That is
Mhm.
what it is. It's having a website and having good SEO and getting found through SEO. I think that is the digital version of that, but there are also mini versions of that as well. When we're talking about being able to look in a phone book, we're talking about local advertising. You're not getting a phone book from New York if you're in California. So you're talking about local advertising. So then using apps like Nextdoor to advertise on Nextdoor, that's akin to that. It's the digital version of that. You can
Thumbtack as
list
well.
your business. Thumbtack, yes, local version, exactly. There are absolutely, and doing local SEO, listing yourself on Google Maps so that people can know when they're, and Yelp, even though Yelp is going out of business, Yelp, they can say
I don't
if I'm
recommend
here.
Yelp.
Yeah, I don't either, but still they used to, well, we'll talk about it later. So that if I'm right here, I am within 10 miles of me, I can find life coaches how do I do that? I do that with Google Maps. List myself on Google Maps. If I'm doing local, that is local marketing thing. So we're not worrying about, in that case, throw out Facebook, throw out Instagram, throw out honestly, and do local marketing. And what is local marketing now? It is Maps, it is Nextdoor, it is, those tools where we're hopping on our phone and we're looking in Google Maps at something that's close by. And so that's for me, the difference. That's what that phone book has become.
Yeah, good answer. We got a few minutes left. We got about 4 minutes left, so we can answer some very quick questions if anybody has any other questions they would like to ask.
Hey, wait, and really quick, she said, and we would do flyers and things like that. Don't discount the your face-to-face interactions with people. Don't throw that out. Those are still the most powerful. Those are hand over fist more powerful than anything anybody finds on the internet. We don't trust what we see on internet and social media immediately. We are far more inclined as human beings to trust a person's face that's standing in front of us than anything out there on the web. So don't discount just going into places where your client might be and talking to your people and talking to people that might know your client, and talking to people that might be able to refer people to you. Hand over fist, one of the, if not the most powerful marketing tool you have in your belt. So don't throw that out. That still is very important. Mailers, not as much, but snail mail, I think most of it goes in the trash these days. But finding a way to actually be in the face of somebody that might be your client or might know your client, still a very powerful tool. So.
All right, I think that will wrap up our CLCI Live Lunch and Learn. For those of you
SCLC.
watching, these are our soon to be Master Certified Life Coaches who are about to graduate. And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and take our classes as well if you want to be just like these fine folks who are about to graduate today. With Brooke, am I forgetting anything else for our sign off?
Certified Life Coach Institute. Check us out, and I'm going to stop the live stream, and I'm going to take a moment to answer a quick question that is privately sent to me, and then so if I'm quiet, that's what I'm doing.